fam. It's your favorite cousin, your favorite uncle, your favorite nephew, your favorite father, your favorite son, your best friend's best friend. It's me, Dr. Larry, and welcome to Living For You, the YouTube channel. This is a safe space. It is a positive place in which we come together, we gather together, we teach each other, we coach each other, we learn from each other, but ultimately we work together on this journey, this very similar journey that we're all going through called life. So welcome, 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 welcome. To my loyal, faithful family, I want to say thank you. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the subscriptions. Thank you for the shares. Thank you for the follows, the likes, the comments, everything. I appreciate you. I honor you. I love you. I bless you. And I send the highest blessing that a human can possibly send other humans and other extraterrestrial beings from me. Thank you. I love you, family. To those of you who watch the videos, who give me watch time, and you even like some of the videos, and you even leave comments, why aren't you subscribed to the channel? Go ahead and hit that subscription wherever the button is and join the family. It's not going to change my love for you, other than that I will be sending my prayers and my blessings and my hopes, and when I'm in my prayer time and my meditation time, I even pray and meditate for those of you who are subscribers, your family. And so I pray for my family. I pray for you as well. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button. To those of you who this is your first time maybe seeing my face, I am Dr. Larry Smith, Dr. Larry Smith, PhD, if you're Googling it. I am many things, but for the purposes of the Living For You, the YouTube channel, I am a life and spiritual coach. I have multiple certifications in life and spiritual coaching. I help people deal with trauma and process things that they're going through so that they can come out of the other side of it whole, complete, positive, living for the moment, the present, today. If you want to know more about me, you can actually go out to www.liveforyoucoaching.com. You can sign up for coaching. You can chat, text me. There's a lot of things you can do out there. There's courses and so many things at www.liveforyoucoaching.com. And if you want to follow me on social media, you can actually follow me at Dr. Larry Smith on both Instagram and Facebook. That is Dr. Larry Smith on both Facebook and Instagram, where you can chat with me. You can see my posts daily, because I post something out there all the time, multiple times a day, really. And you get a chance to kind of get an inner look into some of the things that I'm thinking about outside of just what I do here on the Living For You, the YouTube channel. So obviously today I want to do my book report for the monthly book that I read. And you guys know that the book that I read this month was Iyanla Vanzant, Peace from Broken Pieces. And it was a fantastic read. It was my third time actually reading the book. But you get something new when you reread something and it's been a while before you looked at it. And so you get a new perspective. And of course, obviously this book is really autobiographical. That's the word. Boom. It's autobiographical in that it's Iyanla Vanzant discussing her childhood, but then mostly the book centers around kind of the influence and the death of her middle child, Jamia. And I wanted to make that known. I think it was in a previous video I told you guys I had purchased her Peace and Calm room spray. This actually comes from her company, which is called Masterpiece Body. And it's actually Jamia's Masterpiece Body. Her daughter was into mixing things and creating fragrances and using natural things like chamomile flowers and elderberries and, you know, different grapefruit seed extract and different things, and creating sprays that aligns with it's aromatherapy, you know, aroma and different aromatic things. You know, you got senses. Your senses are very connected with your emotions and your feelings and your thoughts. And so this house spray, the body washes, the other different products that she has for Jamia's, if you can kind of see that, Jamia's Masterpiece, and it's spelled Masterpiece, P-E-A-C-E. It all works together for your spiritual progression and for your building up who you are and different things like that. So I wanted to correct that. I think I said Gamia's or something last time, but it's Jamia. Jamia. Now, mind you, reading this book was a long book, so there are times when I was at home, I was reading, as I woke up during my reading times, and then sometimes I would listen to it via the audiobook. And that's a suggestion I have to many of you guys. I know some people's lifestyles don't allow them to do what I can do, which is read sometimes. Their lifestyle is always, I'm on the go, I got to move. But when you're in your car, you got moments to just be present and listen while you drive. Or when you're just laying around the house, just relaxing, you can listen. So there are audiobooks. The audiobooks are great. And this particular audiobook was actually being narrated by Iyanla. So Miss Iyanla. So I was able to know how to say the name correctly. And I was also able to kind of get a more sense of a feeling of connectiveness to this book. I will start by saying it was kind of a sad book in many ways if you use the emotion of sad to understand loss. So from a loss perspective, Peace from Broken Pieces was, a sad book, but it also was a book of understanding that no matter what you go through, because one of the worst things a parent can go through is the loss of a child. And Miss Iyanla had faced sexual violation. She had faced physical violence. She has faced verbal and emotional violence from her grandmother and from her father, who was never present. She had all of these pathologies and these things built up around men and giving men a pass to be no good men in her lives from childhood, from her father not being there, from the men in her life not being there. She had a situation in which her brother, who she valued and cherished, who she felt was her protective, he couldn't save her from everything, i.e. the wrath of her father. And one of the central themes of the story, or of the book, was this idea of inherited behaviors and pathologies that are passed down from generation to generation to generation. One of the things that was most powerful to me in the book was how Miss Iyanla had never met her mother. Her mother had died when she was really, really young, like 2 or something. But she recognized from finding out her mother's story that her mother's experiences and some of the things that her mother had done, pathologies passed down to her, even though they weren't directly taught. And she almost likened it to be kind of almost in her cellular memory, that she had no control over it. It was just something that it presented itself as part of an inherent pathology that she came to realize went on from her mom and her mom's mom and from generation to generation as such. And she was enacting it herself unknowingly, subconsciously, unconsciously, just living in a reality that was crafted and created for her before she even drew her first breath or before she's seen the world outside of the womb. She likens it to say her mom was a smoker and her mom was a drinker, and she drank and smoked while she was pregnant with her. And it reminded me so much of my own personal experiences. Sometimes I do things and it lets me know that's just like my mama, that's just like my daddy. And I don't intend to do it, but it just seems to happen kind of almost naturally in many ways. Now, of course, we're not going to sit up and say that everything happens to us because we genetically inherit stuff. Some of it is learned behavior from things behind that are presented through childhood and through our lives in front of us. However, we will say that there are certain things that we normalize that are passed down to our family, like the idea of not speaking up about your trauma. The backlash initially, not now it's more so have died down, but when I first started a few years ago, I received backlash from my family for being so open and so honest about my experiences, that I had gone through abuse and trauma and other things, and just being disrespected as a child and having my person, reduced emotionally as a child. And when I used to speak publicly about it, or I would tell people, when I would be frank and honest about it, I would have people say, don't tell your secrets. Why would you tell somebody? They for many reasons. One, they would think it would be something I'm giving for somebody to use against me. You can't use something that I'm powerful over, something that I have overpowered and overcame, and I have accepted as part of my truth and my story, but not who I am, against me. But they didn't know that I had done enough work to be strong enough to even combat that. They also didn't want to hear it or let it be exposed because of the embarrassment. A lot of times in families, some of these things happen and we keep them secret because we don't want the outside world to perceive our family as anything else. But here's the thing that I have learned, even in holding things like that. Even if you try to hold it down, traces of it still manifest itself presently where people can see it. I liken it to carrying a bag full of trash for years. After a certain point, that trash is going to be able to smell. It's going to be smelling. People are going to smell it. Even if you try to put incense and spray and things and all kinds of fresheners around it, you're not going to be able to totally get rid of that potent smell of garbage in that backpack that you are carrying with you everywhere you go. And a lot of times your trauma is just like that trash in that backpack. That no matter what you do, no matter how you try to cover it, no matter how you lock it up in there tightly, traces of it, the experiences of it, the expressions of it somehow, sometimes make its way out, and people can see it, especially people who try to get close to you. People who try to intimately connect with you will start to realize that the baggage you've been storing is still there and you haven't dealt with it. And so because of that, I came to the realization that it's just best to be honest about your trash. It's just best to be honest about the baggage that you're bringing along with you. And so the book really reinforced that idea of honesty and authenticity when it comes to dealing with your stuff, because there's no way to heal unless you first look at it to reveal it. This is what it is. And that was the crux of the book. And it seems to me that Pieces-Iyanla was so preoccupied with trying not to be like her parents and trying not to be like her grandmother that she was doing some of the very same things that she was trying not to be by default. And she got that realization when she started dealing with her grandbabies and then when she read her daughter's journal. It is a fascinating thing to be able to go and read somebody's journal and they write about you because then you get a chance to really understand how that person perceived you. And many times she saw that her daughter didn't really care for how she was acting, but it corrected her and she took it as such. She took it as such, but then she also realized just how much her daughter loved her. And she felt that energy too, all in that same journal of her daughter just discussing how she felt about so many subjects. But the ultimate, I think, reflection that I get from the book is that we all have stuff. We all have baggage. We all have experiences, positive and negative. We've all been through something. We've all encountered something against us. But the person who is growing, the person who is in touch with their inner self, the person who is conscious about who they are, acknowledges those things, confronts those things, play in those things for healing, and move forward. But most people live lives unconscious, unenlightened, unconnected to their spirit, and so their stuff that we all experience becomes who they are, and everybody they meet gets to feel that experience of what they've been through. It's almost like they torture people because they've been tortured, and many times it's unconscious. It's become part of who they are, and so they're acting out who they are based on what they've been through. But what you've been through is not who you are. Who you are is who you were born. Who you are is who you came into this planet as before any of that other stuff happened to you. But somehow we get distracted from who we are by what we've been through. And that's the crux of what I got from the book. Another important factor of the book was the importance of a spiritual path. Pieces-Iyanla is a Yoruban priestess. She's also a Christian. So she has all of these two dynamics in her life that she values very, very much. She even buried her daughter and got married in the Yoruban tradition. But the ultimate, no matter what the faith was, or no matter what the practice was, the spiritual, the dependency on spirit, the dependency on something higher was definitely present throughout the book. And you guys know me, you guys have been coming here sitting with me, you know that that's very important to me. Prayer, meditation, connecting to spirit, understanding spirit from within out, acknowledging spirit, being thankful, not beseeching and begging of God, but being thankful, acknowledging it, relying on it to do what it does. I believe personally that spirit is always good. And so whenever things are chaotic and crazy around my life, I lean on into spirit. I lean not into my own understanding, but I lean into the understanding of spirit. That's the Bible for those of you who know, and for those of you who don't know. So I trust God. You know, there's nothing for me. Everything comes through spirit and truth, and I believe that, and I trust the God of my understanding. I trust the God of myself, the God of my being, the God that resonates within, around, and towards me. I trust and I lean on that God, that spirit for the substance of my being. Okay, everything that I am initiated from that, and therefore I acknowledge that with all that I am. And in those times of broken places and broken pieces, it's that faith that has grounded me. It is that faith that has pulled me through. And I noticed that in the book, Miss Iyanla had the same feeling, that it is those things that throughout from her childhood that she leaned on. I also saw that she had some special gifts of discernment, gifts of seeing things, gifts of feeling things, very connected in that way. And while other people said, you don't do that, she still trusts her own spirit. And that's another thing that I think is an important tenet from the book, is that we learn to trust our inner spirit, because it speaks to you. It acknowledges you, it guides you, it loves you. But many times we hear all the chatter of the outside world, the busy, the traffic, the boss, the significant other, the kids, the teachers, the preachers, the ministers, the politicians. It's just a lot of noise, the news stations. But when we stop, pause all of that chaos around us, and we stop and listen to that ever so soft, intuitive voice on the inside, it has all the answers that we need to sustain and to live in this thing we call life. And she got that from her early age, and it's carried her through so much trauma and so much turmoil. And one of the things I tell my clients all the time is trust your voice. And I don't mean what you're saying. Trust your voice, because it's inside, because it's connected to your emotions. It's connected to your feelings. It is telling you what you need and what you don't need. All you need to do is listen to it. So the book was phenomenal. And she's a very clear writer. She's a very articulate writer and clear so she is very clear in how she articulates her point. And the book is very good. So I highly recommend that you read Peace from Broken Pieces by Iyanla Vanzant. I think it's going to enrich you and give you something, and also going to remind you of your spiritual voice, your spiritual self, and your ability to heal not just past pathologies passed down to you, but to be able to understand who you are now and to try to make the present and eventually the future a better experience. That's it. This month's book, I'm actually reading Byron Katie's 4 Questions. So obviously at the end of the month, after I read the book, I would get on here just like now, and I would do my book report. And I recommend, if you want to read it, Byron Katie's The 4 Questions, right along with me. You'll be caught up in the discussions as well. I anticipate that to be a good book, and so I can't wait to dive into it and read it. I also brought the audio book so that I can do both and kind of still keep my schedule going and still be able to read, and in the times that I can't physically look at the book, I can actually listen to it and continue my reading journey. Anyway, I love you all. As I always say, with the highest love a human can give another human, the highest God love a human can give another human, beyond agape. And I will see you in the next video.